It's early morning, June 19th. Been a little while since I've updated you on what's going on at the gardens. Tomorrow's the summer solstice, longest day of the year. The halfway point, essentially. I figured I'd take you on a tour of the Victory Garden and the garden at home and let you see how things are progressing. So the Victory Garden is fully planted. Our potatoes are looking super healthy. Nice lush greenery. Hopefully that means there's nice delicious potatoes growing underneath. We have had flowers on a lot of the plants here. So flowers supposedly indicates potatoes. So hopefully that's what we've got. Our onions are also doing really well. Tops are looking nice and green. They are starting to bulb up. I'll just zoom in here if I can. It's gonna focus on everything else but the onion. Let me go in a little bit closer. Yeah, you get the picture. Not all the onions are quite so bulbing, but we've got like another month and a half or so to go before they're due to be harvested. So I'm not too concerned about that. But speaking of, these potatoes, these are the russet potatoes that I saved over winter. Most of these were saved in the refrigerator, not the root cellar. And they got knocked back twice by frost in the spring because they were growing in the greenhouse, and there was a delay in planting them into the ground. So I didn't get these in until the early part of April, a couple of weeks behind what I would have preferred having them in the ground. So they went in week 15, I just checked, and went in week 15, and they take about 17 weeks to grow. Now this is week 25, so that's only 10 weeks. That means we got like another 7 weeks minimum. So we got like 2 more months, theoretically, of these potatoes growing before they're ready to harvest. That really screws up my plans for replanting this garden. I was thinking it was going to be like in the next couple of weeks, these things would start dying back and I'd be able to put new plants in the ground. I want to put a whole row of peas down here, a whole row of cabbage, and I got a few other things I want to put in the ground. But if I got to wait 2 months for that, that might be too long. I'd have to check my calendar again. Right next door are our Roma tomatoes, and mostly coming along fine. We had one die here. Well, actually, it's still growing. I think that's growth, but nothing to speak of. But we're starting to get flowers on the plants. So that'll mean tomatoes soon. I replanted this one here because it just didn't take all that well. And I replanted that one over there because that one also didn't take well. They're growing now. Both are growing fine. Those are my home save seed. Let me back out. Those two are my home save seed. These are from a seed packet that I bought. So I'm interested in comparing the two. I still have more potato. I planted some of the home saved Romas at home, and they're coming along. As you can see, I've got the straw down around it just to protect the ground, but weeds are still growing through. And I'm just still wondering how much is actually being caused by the hay and seeding hay, seeding my ground with weeds. But they're overall looking good. Some are growing slower than others. Like these here, still pretty small plants compared to like this one over here and those up front. Initially, I was thinking that maybe, those up front are getting more sun than these back here. I mean, there's absolutely nothing overhead, But considering that one's coming along, I just think it's the nature of each of the plants. So we got a few that are growing slow, but they're growing. Next to that are our peppers. They're looking pretty good too. They're growing nice and strong. Hold on. Puppy found a tennis ball. Puppy doesn't go anywhere without his balls. So finding one at the garden. Dope. He ran that way. The ball went that way. There he goes. Nope. Okay. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. It's over there. There you go. Oh, keep going. There he is. All right. Life is good again. Okay. So the peppers are growing. We've actually got a nice little pepper growing right here. And we've got one over there. So we should start seeing a lot more production from the plants, but they're looking healthy. My strawberries are looking good. They didn't produce much strawberries, or if they did, the animals got them. I do know there were a couple of plants or a couple of berries that I was eyeing to eat, and the slugs or rabbits or whatever it is, they got there ahead of time. But I'm going to be moving these plants out of here at the end of the season, and I'm going to be transferring them to a space at home, and I'm going to grow them there. Here you can see more of the onions starting to bulb up. You got that one there, that one there. I'm always in a hurry for things to get done. This is my leek, and the pod finally opened. So I plan on collecting some seed from it before it sprinkles all over the ground. I don't know if it's me or other people are experiencing this, but this year my seeds are taking forever to germinate. And they're just not growing. Once they get growing, they grow, but it's like getting them started is just so hard this year. I've never experienced that. It's like weeks it's taking. And I don't do anything different when I start my seeds than I've done in the past, but this year it's taking weeks for seeds to start germinating. Not sure why. One thing I neglected to show was building my bean teepee and planting my green beans, and they're all doing quite well. There's about a dozen plants all along the perimeter here, and they'll grow up the teepee, and once they reach the top, it's gonna be a mess. Nice and wide down here, but obviously coming up to a point. Once they reach the top, that's gonna be a disaster. But hopefully I'll get a lot of green beans out of it. Unfortunately, down at this plot, you can't put anything taller than 5 feet. That's about 5 foot tall. So I have to work with what I've got. Got to bring my hoe down and do some weeding in the middle here. And then I'm going to mulch over it to try to keep them from coming back. Although, as my peppers show, it doesn't matter. So the Victory Garden is coming along. It's fully planted. Everything looks like it's growing healthy. Got a few plants I might want to swap out. I still got a couple of spares at home. Bring them down and for like that tomato plant or pepper plant that is lagging a little bit. swap them out, see if I can get them growing up in time. Hopefully, we'll be able to start harvesting the potatoes soon, so I can get the rest of the plants that I've got for a fall garden growing in here. As I said, I want to put green beans down here. I want to put peas down here, and cabbage and a couple other things. And if I don't get those potatoes out of the ground, it's going to throw my schedule all off. I could get new potatoes if I wanted, but I don't want to do that. I want full-size russet potatoes. So let's go take a look at the garden at home. I figured while I was driving to my house, I would give you an update on my back. So my back is pretty much done. It's pretty much clear. No, I'm not wearing a seatbelt. So the back is pretty much healed up. I have no pain whatsoever. I have no idea whether those nicotine pouches really did anything, but I'd like to think they helped, at least in part. But I've got no issues anymore. And I'm able to bend over now and weed and plant plants with no issue. Well, no issue with my back. As I also mentioned, I'm using the nicotine pouches as my poor man's Ozempic to help with weight loss. And that's been coming along good. I've lost about 28 pounds so far. Not all of it, I'll say, is related to the nicotine pouches, but probably 3/4 of it. Zero hunger throughout the day. I have bumped up my usage, totally not because nicotine is addicting, but I started off with 2 pouches a day, one in the morning, one at lunchtime. But I was finding that at night I was looking for snacks and stuff like that. So I went up to 3 pouches a day, and that helped. That wasn't bad. And now I actually use 4 pouches a day. Every 4 hours I put a new pouch in. Actually, there's some days I forget to put one in. So, but there's just zero hunger. I'm just not hungry at all during the day. It makes dieting so much easier because you're not craving anything. So that's going well. As I said, I've lost 28 pounds and only another 100 to go. But more importantly is my back. And I think as I lose weight, I'm going to have less back problems, less knee problems too. So it all works together. So that's the update on my back and my weight loss. Let's go check out the garden at home. We're back at home, albeit a few hours later. And let me give you a tour of what's going on in the garden. So this is my indeterminate tomato. It's a slicing tomato. This was from the seed I saved last year and took a while to get going, but now it's actually coming on strong. It's got a nice thick stem on it, and it's growing great. It's funny because I planted this one after I planted this one, and this one, which had been bigger, is now lagging behind the other one. Of course, this one shares a container with oregano, which I've harvested some already, and it's already growing back. I actually cut this thing almost down to the ground, the oregano, and it's already bounced back. But I understand you can get like 2 to 3 harvests out of oregano and just keep cutting it back to the ground. But the tomatoes are doing good. This one's just starting to get flower buds on it. This one actually has a number of flowers on it already. So hopefully we're getting some tomatoes forming real soon. Over here, this is a pumpkin, and it also took a while to get going. Now it's This has been in the ground, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. And as I said, it just took a long time to get started. So, but it's sprouted up now, jumped up within the past couple of days. So I'm looking for it to take over. Right next door is my garlic, and it's just about ready to harvest. The tips are starting to die back. Lower leaves are browning up. I think they say when you have the lower 2 or 3 leaves brown, that's when you should harvest. I always feel I'm pulling it out too soon, but I don't want to leave it in the ground and have it rot. But I'm not watering this anymore, probably within another week, maybe less than, depending on how it looks in that time frame and what the weather's like. So I'm not watering this anymore. We'll pull them out. I've already harvested a few. Let me show you. I've got a few I pulled out the other day. I think it's Saturday, Sunday. And I've been letting them sit out here in the sun. And they're drying out nicely. Got some nice bulbs on here. Always want bigger, but these are fine. Had a couple here which were really odd. It's like the outer covering separated from it. So there we go. I'm gonna use these up right away. These will end up being minced, and I'll use in my cooking along with the others. But the garlic is almost ready to harvest. Speaking of almost ready to harvest, I've got some onions here. Plane, of course, going overhead. And these were onions that had been in my kitchen that started to sprout. So I peeled them down to just where the plant was and planted them. And they're coming along quite well. They look like they're ready to go. They've swelled up nice. And but let me show you something curious about that. Oh, I've got one more back here too. So I just have them growing in these 6-inch pots. I had run out of space, so I just threw them in here. But again, these were onions that I harvested last year that started to sprout in the kitchen. And you just peel back the onion until you get down to the single plant that's growing, and then you plant that in the ground. But let me show you the other onions. So this is where I planted my onions, and got to do a little weeding in here. But these were the extras that I had from the Victory Garden, and I stuck them all in. But as you can see, we got some nice tennis ball size onions here. And again, these were the ones that had started to sprout in the kitchen. But it's just interesting how these have swelled up so fast, but the others have not. And they were all the same size, really, when I put them in. Yet being, I guess, a year old or so, they just swelled up into onions really fast. So you can see there's these, we've got cocktail onions right now going here, but nowhere near the older ones. So hopefully these others will grow soon enough. But I just thought that was interesting. Planted at the same time, but the one onion, because it's older, grew very fast. Back here in the garden area, this is the Lola Rosa lettuce. It's been harvesting great, been cutting off the leaves, chopping them up for salads. This is terrific. One of my new favorite lettuces, along with black-seeded Simpson. As you can see though, the stalks are starting to get tall here, so it's getting ready to bolt. So very soon I'll be cutting off all the leaves and taking them out. That'll open up some space here, and I'll find something to put in there. But this has been a great lettuce, great tasting lettuce, and been really enjoying it. I might let one plant go to seed. That way I'll be able to have more seeds. Next door, these are the in-ground parsnips, and they're doing really well, at least up top. The leaves are nice and big and look very healthy. And there's about 9 of them here or so. I've got the others in that drainage pipe, and they're doing well as well, but not as well as this. And these were planted after the other ones. Over here are the extra tomatoes. These are the Roma tomatoes. These are the home saved seeds. And they were put in about a week or so ago, and they're responding quickly, starting to put on some size. It might not look like it just yet, but they're starting to put on some size from when they were planted. And turning around is my cornfield. Here, let me get a better position. Okay, this is the corn. It was over 100 kernels planted, but definitely not all of them came up. And so we do have like some open areas, like all over here. All these just didn't sprout. And then throughout the planting, they didn't sprout either. Of course, they might have been, I might have thought they were grass and pulled them out. That's always a distinct possibility. But they're doing really well. And I've noticed some of these stalks are much bigger and grander than the others. Like these here in the middle, they're already, well, these leaves up top are over 6 feet tall. While some others, maybe they're just still growing, but they're back here. And I'm wondering if the difference is the kernels that I planted. If you recall, I planted the Bantam sweet corn, golden Bantam. And I didn't realize until about a week after I put these kernels in the ground that some of the seeds were golden Bantam and the others were early golden Bantam. And I'm thinking that the golden Bantam are going to be a little bit bigger than the early golden Bantam. We'll have to see what happens. We're not getting any tasseling just yet, but it being June 19th, I'm going to say we've got the knee-high by 4th of July on lock here. No problem with that. And then I never did plant this bed, but next week I'm actually going to be planting carrots in this bed here. Do a succession planting, although it's not succeeding anything here. But we'll going to be putting in a whole bed of carrots here. Right here, though, we've got celery. So the celery is doing fantastic. And the stalks are coming up nice. Some of these in here look nicer than others. I'm not sure how well it shows up, but like back here, this one back here, looks like we're getting a nice stalk there. So we should have some decent celery later in the fall. And then my pea mess. These here were the tall telephone, and I never put a support system in there for them. So they've kind of just, yeah, I wonder what happened here. Guess we had a little bit of a wind storm. And that's why you should have support for your pea plants. Hold on just a second. Okay, I just quickly tied them up with a little bit of twine here. Not optimal, but better than have them all hang over. But we're getting some nice peas here. They're starting to swell up. Now these are the other ones, and I forget what their name is, but they did have some fencing behind them to latch onto, except the fencing tilted back because there's peas actually growing on the other side as well. So not the most thought out plan, but we'll be doing that in the future, actually building a structure for the peas to grow up on. So the peas are doing well. Looks like we're gonna have a bunch. We've got a lot of flowers on the peas. And they're coming along.
Last here is my second of the two sisters garden. This is in the cornfield, and this is a butternut squash. It's a Waltham variety, and it took forever to get going, but now it looks like it's started. We do have the potatoes here. We had the 3 potatoes that I discovered, and I decided not to dig them up and let them grow. Well, they are growing. They're doing well. There's one here. There's another one here. And then there's a third down there. Now, I'm not sure what kind of potatoes I'm going to get out of these, because I do fertilize the corn with high nitrogen fertilizer. So I'm sure the potatoes are picking up a lot of that, and particularly that second plant in the middle there, which is a couple of feet tall. I think it's really absorbing that nitrogen. So I'm not sure what kind of potatoes we're going to get out of this plot here, but any little potato even would be good. Speaking of carrots, these are my Home Save Seed Danvers carrots. They're coming along really well. If you look down here, you can actually see a carrot. There we go, right there. So it looks like a decent size there. We got another one over there. So we've definitely got some carrots growing here. And what's really interesting about the carrots, as I said, these are the Home Save Seed. They were planted at the same time, or actually a day or two later than these. These are the store-bought carrots, which are not doing nearly as well. I mean, we do have carrots there, but the size is completely different. It's a different kind of carrot, of course. This is a Chardonnay, I think that's what it's called. That is the Danvers 126. But these jumped up a lot faster than those did, and they were much taller for a period of time, and then all of a sudden these just took off. These are looking really good, so I'm excited to see what we get out of these, particularly since I saved the seeds from the carrots. We've got one of our potatoes here, actually probably 2, 3, or 4 of them in there. Same there, those are potatoes too, and I've got more potatoes right there as well. I just had so many potatoes to plant this year, but they're looking good too. As you can see, they got flowers on top. So over here we have wilting in the 90+ degree temperatures, the turnips. We've got some decent turnips in here. Let's see if I can find, yeah, there we go. That's a decent turnip, and that's probably the decentest turnip that we got. We have others in here, like this one here, but as always with my turnips, they grow longer and thinner than squat and round. This one's kind of small. This one I'm not even sure if it's doing anything. Yeah, it's kind of thin under there. We've got another one down there. So we've got some turnips in here, another one back there. But they're all kind of oddly shaped. I only have one turnip-shaped turnip. It's probably the only time I've gotten a turnip-shaped turnip. They all always, like I said, grow cylindrical. They're not cylindrical. They're the purple top white globe variety. So they should grow roundish, but mine never do. I don't know if it's stress or what, but they're not, they don't grow right. And over here, I have beets. Now the beets look good, but these things almost died back completely to the ground. I don't know why. It was never cold, never particularly hot at the time. They just, like, the leaves just died. And all of a sudden they started growing again. So I don't know if I'm going to get any beets out of this, but the leaves look good. And then behind me here is my trellis. And I've got a another butternut squash that's taking even longer to grow than the other one. They were planted at the same time, so you can see how that one's doing in relation to this one. This one is just, they're just slow growing. I don't know why. This is a volunteer tomato. I had tomato plants planted here last year, so something must have hit the ground. So since I can't kill a plant, I'm letting it grow. Then we've got my cucumbers, and I'm an idiot. This is a pickle bush variety. Now you would think the name would have clued me in that it's a bush variety pickle, not a vining type. So I might end up having to move these out of here to a different location, since they're not going to grow very tall. And then over here I have cantaloupe planted. This isn't cantaloupe, this is weed. But I think, I just saw it today, this might be it right here, the cantaloupe coming up. We'll have to wait and see whether that turns into a weed too. But again, another seed just taking forever to germinate. I've moved back to my potato patch, and this is all the potatoes I'm growing in buckets. They're all doing really good. Well, most. These haven't really done well. They took a long time to come up. Some never did. This one here, this one here. And I think, oh, this one's got a plant on it right there. But yeah, there's a couple that didn't, that never sprouted. But overall, most of these are russets. There's a couple of Sharpo Miras. Those all on the back there are red Nordlands. And these might be White Superior or the Yukons. So they never really grew here. But the others, the russets, I'm gonna have lots of russet potatoes, so that's good. And then these are the other parsnips. They're, as I said, they're doing good. They're just not doing as well as the ones planted in the soil. And they were another slow grower. And they're now coming on, but they're behind the others, which were planted later. I'm also thinking this just might be too shaded back here. It gets a lot of midday sun, but the morning and now in the late afternoon, evening, it's in shade. So that might be the problem. So I might need to maybe move this to a sunnier location, or just plant them in the ground. But otherwise, coming along, and maybe I'll get some parsnips out of it. And last but not least are my sweet potatoes. They look like they're going good. And I think, like the parsnips, one side is getting more sun than the other side. Well, this side's getting more sun than this side. That's the only thing I can really think of as the difference in the growth between the two, because both sides have been treated identical. So not much I can do about the sun here. I did what I could when I tore down those trees right in this area. That'll have to be, but we'll see what happens at the end. I mean, the plants look healthy. All the plants look healthy. But then again, last year my plants looked healthy too, and I got no sweet potatoes at all. So hopefully I'll get something this year though. So overall, the garden's doing really well. Both the Victory Garden and the one here at home. Got a lot of things growing. Looks like they're growing successfully. But of course, we really won't know until the end. So if you want to see what we were doing in the garden last week, check out this video right here. And then subscribe and hit that notification bell. And that way you'll be able to follow along on the progress on all of our vegetables as we try to grow a supermarket in our own backyard. Let's grow something awesome.